the men's squash team in the future Olympics? No, he's talking about the USWNT. Every time I see that hashtag. Oh, man, when Megan Rapinoe missed a penalty kick, I'm not sure the percentages on penalty kicks, but I think they're pretty high. Well, old Megan, that was the last shot of her career. Oh, say it ain't so. Now, some people on Twitter hitting me up, you call yourself an American, America first. Will you admit that you were rooting against the women's soccer team? Well, I admit I'll fly wherever you are and stand there and jump up and down and say yes. How many people listening right now want to call in and tell me yes? And I'm not even going to label it. It's obvious. It takes a lot to root against an American team, but I would argue this is not an American team. How are these women bullied by Rapinoe? Do all of them really think that? I don't think so. I think some of them are borderline. And somehow or another, this woman bullied them into just annex that are un-American. I don't like even anything about them. It's not just the taking a knee. It's not just the constant whining about one thing or another. It's the over-celebration when they beat up on some team, some way, shape, or form. They're just not someone that I admire as good sports people, to put it mildly. 855-839-1210. That's how you get in. AT&T and Verizon Wireless. Just push pound 1210. Yeah, can they sing along with Lee Greenwood? Are they going to stand up? And that nonsense when they had little girls in front of them in the opening ceremony. The Vietnamese team proudly singing their national anthem. And they just look like, yeah. You got a better chance of us doing this than Megan Rapinoe voting for Trump. All right, phone lines. I maintain it's un-American to root for this team. Root for what? And they got dumped. I mean, I have the statistics here. They got dumped badly versus previous performances. Yeah, it's a win. It's one time the sports went correctly, and Megan Rapinoe missing the penalty shot, even better. All right, I'll get to, and I have kind of mixed feelings about the Trey Turner thing. Jack Fritz down the hall, I think, at WIP is the real architect of it. And for him, I heard him, was a brilliant idea to give a standing ovation to Trey Turner when he came up. But I wonder, how far that goes. I think he's a good player. I think he's really trying. And people like the Phillies. But the standing ovation was all 4 times Friday night till we got a hit on the 4th time. I'm not sure if it continued yesterday. So that brings us to the side question today. Our side question is, give us someone, living or dead, that you would give a standing ovation to. Living or dead that you would give a standing ovation to is what we're looking for. I'm going to take off the board somebody dead. If I were there, when he starts to say the line, as for me, because he talks about what other people have said. Then he says, as for me, give me liberty or give me death. Oh, man. You got to have that guy in your team. What would he say to the U.S. women's soccer team? Yeah, get them out of here. I didn't say give me liberty and death for Megan Rapinoe. I'm sure the founding fathers would say, that's exactly what we wanted. Protesting, embarrassing America, screwing up big time, being disinterested, mocking other teams. These are female role models for these young girls. Wow, that sport's in big trouble then. I'll also take off the board on the positive, and he did get it. Nick Foles, at the event we did with him when I interviewed him in front of 1,600 people at the church out there in the suburbs, that was, what a guy. And he starts walking toward the audience like he's going to sign autographs and posters, and we're mayhem. People are jumping on the stage there with Nick Foles. Want to shoot some hoops, Tom? All right, so I give a standing ovation to Nick Foles.
Who's your first one, too?
Patrick Henry.
And Patrick Henry.
Yeah,
I'm going to take my Serious one will be Tony Bennett off the board.
That's a good one.
You know, when he had that duo with Lady Gaga, who we hear behind us right now, and the things that he had to, I mean, Alzheimer's, he could hardly, form sentences, but he got up on stage and just had an absolutely amazing performance.
Absolutely.
Standing ovation worthy. The other one, after coming off of what we did with Trey Turner and the success of the standing ovation, I mean, he hit the home run. Let's give Kyle Schwarber a standing ovation.
Oh, my God. Yeah, right. Guy who can't field his position, can't run the bases, can't throw, can't catch, is hitting, well, he was hitting over the weekend about 178. He might be up to 180 now. He walks and, he's the definition of no fun baseball. He never puts it in play. Walk, strike out, or a home run.
Yep, it's growing on me. I would poo-poo it for a while there, but yeah, I'm now watching it closer.
Yeah. It's no fun. It's exhausting watching this guy.
Huge hat tip, though, to Brandon Marsh, man. What a Spirit of Philadelphia player, running full speed into the wall like that and hitting his knee. Kyle Schwarber sees it, throws the ball back into the infield, runs to his side, helps escort him off with the rest of the team to another standing ovation. Just an absolutely beautiful moment.
He's a good teammate, apparently, inside Schwarber. But Aaron Rowan, though, caught the ball. Ran into the Cyclone fence, broke his nose right there.
Oh, come on. The guy still gets an A for effort.
Well, yeah. But, I mean, when you catch it and you're holding up in Philadelphia, that guy is beyond a standing ovation. Yeah. All right, 855-839-1210. That's the side question. Maybe you've never called before. The embarrassments of this women's team. Just the embarrassment of sports. Rapinoe saying her grandest moment was equal pay. All right, she can say whatever her grandest moment is, but I believe she bullied these other women. How are they role models that they can be bullied like that? Some of them, Julie Ertz, Zach Ertz's wife, did stand up, somehow or another was able not to be bullied. But by and large, it seems like a lot of them were afraid to go against the flow. Just explicitly tell us what you hate about America, because these are haters. It's our best tradition. No. Don't play on the national team then. If you want to be on the national team, it's not about playing soccer. Remember this. If you're playing in a league and you take a knee, that's one thing. When you're on the national team, you're not only playing soccer, football, you're representing America. If you don't want to represent America, well, then don't play. And represent America means stand for the national anthem and stop your nonsense. That's my top 10 moments in sport. When that penalty kick went about 4 stories too high. Oh, yes. 855-839-1210. Because if she had kicked it in and they had won, but they would say Megan Rapinoe did it again.
Now the laugh afterwards. What do you think on that?
Oh, I understand that.
You understand it?
She doesn't want to break down and cry.
Yeah.
She knows we're out there. She knows I'm sitting there saying, come on.
Yeah,
it's happening.
Yeah, she said it's just dark humor that her last thing ever was a embarrassing penalty.
Oh man, does that mean she might come back now? All right, so 855-839-1210. I told you all last week and into this, discovery is a huge part of this, and they want to take that away from Trump. Now, this judge may do that today. The Trump lawyers have until 5 o'clock to respond. Then she'll determine whether Jack Smith is right, and they start to really rein in what Trump can say or put out there on social media. Look, here's how it should go. If he makes a threat, that can be actionable. We already have laws if you make a threat. If you want to charge someone under the law with making a threat, go right ahead. But we don't rein in a person completely because they have a bully pulpit and they're exposing what they went on here with the gathering of material around these indictments, particularly when they're still running for president. All right, 855-839-1210. You get on board. We may see an appearance today of Dan the Red again. Coming up, Steve Keeley reporting it's either 4 or 5 teenagers shot at a Philadelphia recreation center. Okay? And yes, they did have cameras. I will break it down. I will go back to one of our most heated moments in the last, 6 months to a year here. But you get in right now. Be the first on Monday. Hit us with someone you would give a standing ovation to, living or dead. Patrick Henry, Nick Foles, Tony Bennett, in the moment Dan talked about. Yeah, I see all those things. And was the Trey Turner standing ovation? It certainly was okay. Was it great? Was it like, wow, look at what fans in Philadelphia have turned to? Ray Dininger was against it. I offer that as Exhibit A. 855-839-1210.
Kale and Company weekday mornings 6 till 10.
Eric Bolling had to ask.
Welcome in, everyone. Discovery, discovery, discovery. Remember that. We'll say it every day because that's what it's about here, and it's going to be big for Trump. Now, look, you can't have a handler for Trump. One of the problems we talked about early on, he's going to say a lot of things. He's going to say a million things. But one of the advantages in the rambling and all that, he doesn't usually say things that are actionable against him. Look at Ron DeSantis duking it out on NBC News. And the argument was over abortion. He's put himself into kind of a box. Trump is hard to put into a box. There's a lot of words, a lot of maneuvering. So saying what was in his state of mind with the election is impossible. That he lost. He knew he lost, and he moved heaven and earth because he lost. Just not going to be actionable. But taking away his ability through discovery as a defendant who's also running for president is ridiculous. This judge may try to do that today, though. That's what we may see. All right, you got the side question, too. That's at the end of your call. A couple of updates I think you'll find interesting. I just heard right before the show from Ty Gray Hill. He did the big feature film on Mumia Abu-Jamal. And he did also, and it'll be out in September, and I'm in it, sitting there in the front portion of the Dome. I told him here, you can't give away too much. It's a secret passage there.
In the Dom Garden?
Yes, and I have to sign a release after the show. So
Garden of Roe?
Yes. So it'll be out in September, and it involves that killing in Center City, Philadelphia, where we had a violent confrontation. Guy got out of a car. This other guy stabbed him. It's a national feature film because it's hugely race conscious.
So
There's a
Sean
lot.
Schellinger, right?
Yes, the Schillinger case. And we've had Schillinger on, the mom. We'll probably do that again. I think after Labor Day is when the film will be out. And this guy really is a great filmmaker. Now, I know, Dan, that was during COVID, so it takes a long time for a film to come. I mean, this was like, it seems to me it could have been he interviewed me in 2020. I know he made it into the trailer, but I didn't know if I'd make it into the film itself. So
I feel like if you make it in the trailer, it's a good bet that you'll be in the actual
well,
film,
yeah,
right?
maybe. I mean, I think I'm in the first 5 to 7 minutes. So if I don't like the film, I only have to stay a while. No, he's a great filmmaker. The Mamiya film is a perfect example. All right, the other update. You know that we had Mark Houck on last week. Might have been the first radio interview, I think, or around that, other than his announcement. And it was a riveting interview. He's a man of principle. You know, the guy the FBI raided, running on government overreaction, government intruding into our lives, but also the abortion issue. And it was a interesting conversation when he talked about why, well, he left it the mother's life that he might be okay with that as an exception to banning abortion, but not rape and incest. And I talked about people were excited over his candidacy, but I don't see how you win in Bucks County, even in the Republican primary, certainly in the general election. Can you imagine if he's the nominee, how out of the woodwork they'll come in the general election around the issue of abortion? Dan contacted Brian Fitzpatrick, who's traveling this week or last week. In a week or two, he'll be here. And Dan, he said he'll be coming in studio for this interview, not over the phone. Oh, man.
Yeah, specifically said he wants to join in studio.
Yeah, in studio. So here we go. This is a hot one. So Mark Houck has had his chance. Now, if he agrees to a debate, Dan, I'd love to host the two. We have some time for that because I guess the primary would be in May. I'm not sure when the Republican is it April or something like that. I think it's moved up. And the primary will be in the spring of 2024. This could be a bit of a horse race. I mean, I think Fitzpatrick still has a clear advantage given a lot of things, but this is a very interesting candidacy. And in studio is going to be a pretty big deal. All right, before I take a call. 4 teenagers shot, Steve Keeley has that up, 2 17-year-olds, a 16-year-old male and a 16-year-old female. And the police are unsure whether they returned fire or not. They were at a basketball court in East Oak Lane, a rec center, Philadelphia rec center. They're in stable condition. I think it's 2nd Avenue intersecting with 65th Avenue. So that would be East Oak Lane. Thing of it is, we had quite a debate. It got incredibly heated because the rec center, Dan, does have cameras. Now, you and I got into it a little bit with some listeners because I think you were making the point, they went overboard with it, that, well, this might be a good thing. No, it's just another example. How many cameras do we need? What are cameras going to do? Are cameras a deterrent to people that just want to gun each other down? So you may remember Philadelphia had a thing a couple months back where they put in this massive number of cameras. I think it was a rec center in North Philly. This one in Oak Lane has them, says the report, Channel 6 report. So why do they show up firing away at each other if they know they're going to be on camera? And I maintain, no, I don't want more cameras. All this is going to do, maybe at the end, maybe, and even that's doubtful, is do a better job of identifying it. But the more cameras we put out there, the more privacy we give up. That's what the great debate is. This doesn't really do anything. We know what works. The death penalty, all the way on down the line to keeping people in jail for long periods of time, putting felons in jail that have a gun. We know what works. Why do they're blasting each other, running wildly, the police say here, firing at each other in a rec center. Dan, are you still in the camera
Yeah,
position?
no, I
Yeah.
am. And my point that I've always made is, as a conservative individual, one of my top priorities in my political beliefs is, good policing leads to good communities. And I am very pro police.
Mhm.
And I can't reconcile taking away what would be the police's best weapon in fighting crime.
Well,
And you say it's not a deterrent here, but like this is an individual, rec center where, there may or may not be cameras. But if you create an environment where criminals knew that at any point a camera is watching, I do still stand by my assessment that it would be welcome as deterrent against
I don't
criminals.
think so. I mean, they know cameras are there, they're visible and all that. So why we have to give up more privacy then? You want cameras all over the place.
My whole thing is like, yeah, you know what?
All right.
Sure. And it's not privacy that I'm looking to give up. It's, giving my cost benefit analysis is in the world that I live in. My wife can't go to the damn gas station to pump her gas. So if she can be
There
watched
are
by
cameras
cameras
there.
doing stuff
Wait a
illegal
minute, there
on
are
the
cameras there.
No, I know, but I'm saying because of the environment that's created. So if you bring cameras all around and you create fear in the mind of criminals that they'll be held accountable, you know what? Screw cameras. Just let's start with Krasner and hold criminals accountable. But until criminals feel as though they're being held accountable and that their actions will be met with repercussions, nothing's going to change.
All right. So the great camera debate back with us here, firing away wildly at each other. Cameras there. Often, too, a little side thing, the cameras are not great as far as clarity, et
Well,
cetera. They're
that's part of
masking
it.
all.
I mean,
Yeah.
that when I try to say, like, let's do
Right.
this, I don't want to be the, legalize or 4K everywhere guy because I'm not that guy, but let's get HD cameras in like West Philly, Kensington, up and down Kensington Ave.
Wait
At
a minute.
least let's start.
Dan do videos of Kensington
Yeah,
Avenue
but
around the
they
clock.
can't be used by cops to, identify who's the one selling the drugs on the corner. Dom, you're telling me you wouldn't support lining the entire avenue of Kensington, pointing it towards the drug corners and
No.
watching who's on the corner?
No, I'm
Your
not.
favorite show is The Wire, which
Right.
is cops trying to get the ability to investigate them using these cameras, but you're going to speak out against the use of cameras?
Yeah, I would
just don't
turn the police. I
reconcile
would
that.
turn the police loose. You're not going to do it on Kensington Avenue, up and down the block. We need hundreds of cops on horses. We're coming in. You're going down. Get in the way. The horse is going over top of you. You're not going to be on this drug corner. Now, I admit it's a rare. Some of these drug corners, then the how far out they are. A lot of manpower for police. I could be convinced maybe in that situation of the drones, maybe. But I would first try the other, put the fear of God in them with that we run this now, you no longer do. We're turning the police loose. Well, I have a right to be here. No, you don't. Get the hell out of here or you're going to be arrested or worse. All right, so we got this all the time. I find it interesting, though. Every time this happens, they did have cameras here, Keeley says, and you have 4 teenagers shot. It's a recreation center shooting again. Do you see Kenny or anybody else?
All right, so if a
saying,
contractor has to put a board onto a house
Yes.
and only has a screw with him, but can't get that screw in there with a
Mhm.
hammer, but can get it with a screwdriver, you're going to tell him to never use a hammer again? Like that's it's like taking away the tools is what I'm trying to say of these
Yeah.
police officers. Like, oh, it didn't work here, so it's not going to work. Like, no, I think it's common sense that if you tell people they're being watched all the time, then it's going to give them second,
what
thought
about
to
the
do
right of
something
us, though?
illegal.
We don't want to be watched all the time.
Like to that. That's where I struggle because I don't trust the Biden administration, the FBI, to not use this for nefarious reasons. So
Yeah,
there's that
exactly.
side of me that's there, but I look towards like our local police who are completely understaffed and a answer to being as understaffed as they are where they can't draw recruits. And I don't see any future how they can start drawing recruits, especially with the leadership. They need the tools, and something like cameras in hot areas is something that could definitely assist.
Let's go to Dan in Habertown. Hey, Dan, good afternoon. Thanks for starting us off. What do you have?
To be on with you guys. Yeah, so I would give Clint Eastwood a standing ovation.
Why Clint Eastwood?
Why Clint Eastwood? All the great movies that he has made over the years. I just think he's a cool guy. That's all.
What's your favorite? What do you think his best is? Do you have one?
I I think my favorite movie of his is probably The Outlaw Josie Wales.
All right, good choice. I think his best really is Gran Torino.
Really?
It captures all the
Wow.
essence of Eastwood with his subtlety there, too, of how he deals with it. All right, I'm coming to you, too. This camera thing always provokes people. All right, the latest SEPTA trolley crash. All right, they say it's no fault of SEPTA. Somebody blew a red light in her Mercedes. Now, this would be the fifth or sixth or seventh in the last couple of weeks. I'll tell you, though, why it is the fault of SEPTA, or at least why there's a big SEPTA connection. You can't make this story up. SEPTA never ends. Dan, I don't know. Did you happen to see the crash connection to
Yeah, I
SEPTA?
saw
Okay,
that.
yeah.
But just also real quick, I wanted to make note the Port Richmond trolleys are back. Like the old looking ones.
Yes.
They're back up and running, and there's test runs happening right now, and allegedly by September they should be back.
Oh,
15
boy.
line should be back operating as normal.
What could go wrong?
Yeah, right.
How many crashes can you have before people say enough? All right, 855-839-1210. That's how you get in. Hey, you've heard me talk about my friend and board-certified prosthodontist, my dentist, Dr. Robert Bentz of the Bentz Dental Group in East Norriton. Dr. Bentz is nationally, locally recognized as one of the area's top prosthodontists. I stopped in to see him, and again, we found some new things to tell you about Dr. Bentz and those 3D printers that are just incredible. They're really helping him expand his patient solutions. That's the key thing. He can take a look during various breaks, during various times of the day. They're right there and say, yeah, I didn't see this before. Now I have a different angle here. This is the way to go. This is so good that now more than ever, local dentists are referring their patients to him for the more complex cases. Call Dr. Bentz at 610-272-6949. Make that appointment today. The Bentz Dental Group, 610-272-6949. He's my dentist, my good friend, and somebody that can really help you. Dr. Bentz, all you have to do is make that initial look-see. 610-272-6949. Tom Giordano Show. Welcome in, 855-839-1210. So this latest septic crash, they said, oh, yeah, well, what are you going to do? You know, the trolley was hit. Somebody went through a red light. They absolutely found no blame to go around. Nothing the agency could do. So a driver blew through a red light in a Mercedes-Benz and struck a trolley in southwest Philadelphia, injuring 4 people, according to the Enquirer. The police were able to identify the driver, Brianna Satchel. The driver in this red Mercedes is one of SEPTA's own employees. You just can't write this stuff.
No, really?
You can't write it. They have had every sort. The runaway trolley smashing into the house. How did
You can't write it better than that.
I didn't really read. How did the 2 buses on the Roosevelt Boulevard crash into each other? I don't know if both of them were going the same direction or one in one and the other. I mean, it's just an ill-run organization up and down the line.
Oh,
Why
yeah,
did they
get
get
more
away with
appropriate
it?
music? Sorry about that.
Yeah, I've told you one of the reasons they get away with it is that it's bipartisan. In other words, Democrats and Republicans have all kinds of people that make out that are on SEPTA, that get on that board. So they all go along with each other. You don't hear anybody saying, my God, just look at this organization. How in the world do they get away with it? Occasionally, somebody gets murdered or raped on a train. Then they tell us no one watched, it didn't happen, and we go through that whole thing.
Yeah.
They are world-class in ineptitude.
Ipso facto on youtube.com/@1210WPHT. If you're just joining us, we are live every day dining with Dom over on YouTube from noon until 1. And Ipso facto is one of the regulars in our community on YouTube. Says, Dom, so SEPTA pays so well that their employees can afford a Mercedes?
A red Mercedes, too. Well, we have to look up Brianna Satchel, whatever the name is. And she, I'm going to crash into, well, we want to follow what happens to her now since she's a SEPTA employee. I didn't read what level she's a SEPTA employee at. But it's an outfit that for years has just been out of control, to put it mildly. All right, 855-839-1210. One aspect of the Trey Turner standing ovation over the weekend, that gives us our side question today. That is Bryson Stott said this about it. Outside of the playoffs, obviously, I think this is one of the coolest things I've seen. In the media and all that, all you hear is how this place, meaning Philadelphia, is terrible. You don't want to play here. They don't like their players and blah, blah, blah. And this Bryson Stott, who's a rising star without a doubt, probably in the National League is 1-2 best second baseman when you look at everything, said this shows what Philly fans are really all about. So,
well, last year he said he effing hated this place.
No, that was
Bohm. That was Bohm, wasn't it? Yeah, I always get those two confused for some reason. I guess
but then he was sort of accountable. He apologized, said he shouldn't have said it. I don't know if it was last year. It might have been the year before.
The greatest comment, though, is like, if anything that ingratiated him with Philadelphia people, because there's not one person in the city who doesn't look around and says that at least once a week, you know, like just out of frustration. So once he apologized and moved forward, it was a great relationship.
I've never taken any heat because I say it about Philadelphia city government, this Philadelphia city attitude. It is the worst. It's unimaginable I have evidence of that. And I have to thank the Enquirer. Oh, right here. I was looking for the appropriate time to say this. Jim Kenney, the Enquirer. Now, this is a little bit off, Dan. They say he was eyeing statewide office after a successful first term. Really? Imagine Jim Kenney trying to run across the rest of Pennsylvania.
Yeah, okay.
But what did him in were the George Floyd riots? What did him in is he's a clown.
Yeah.
So he started raising money, and it was big money, hundreds of thousands of dollars. But they say, and I think they're right, most of the money didn't get toward helping other campaigns to help Kenney run. They went to consultants, and they went to bar and restaurant spending, including $280 at the Met Opera Bar for Jim Kenney in New York City. Even New York, how are you paying $280 at the bar? $2,700 for 20 trips to Dolce Italian in Center City.
All right, so 2,700 divided by 20 is what? That is
It's at least 100.
135.
Yeah,
So,
100.
so
Yeah.
at Dolce though, like 135 is like a one-person meal, is it not?
I'm not
So
sure.
is
how
that
you
Kenny
might
just
do-
going out on his own
yes,
dime
yes.
by himself for
Yes.
Dolce?
And $1,300 for 15 outings to the Race Street Cafe, a bar near Kenny's Old City condo
Ah,
that he's been known to frequent. I would put other language in there rather than known to frequent, like maybe he's part of the furniture there. My God.
is there not a note on there for $51,800 to quote American Express?
Oh, I didn't see that one. Yeah.
That's a
That's
Yeah.
a pretty big.
and if
So
this is right, 30,000 for Citizens Bank Park concessions.
what's this guy going to do? What's this guy going to do when he's finally out of office? They said, we don't know what his next job will be. What's his job now? What has been his job for the last 3 or 4 years? He quit his job. What's he doing now would be the better question.
So top recipients of Kenny Pack expenditures on that Inquirer
Yes.
story, if you scroll down, American Express, $51,018.
Right.
And yes, Citizens Bank Park concessions for $30,000. That's a lot of hot dogs.
He's got to entertain people. I'm more interested in the bar stuff. I want to see his Wegmans bill. Since that's his favorite metaphor to use every time there's
is
a
that
gun
where he
issue.
went?
Yeah.
Is he out with Dr. Oz now? Did they just go somewhere together and eat a lot of
Yeah, exactly. Let me take one more. Scott in Collegeville on Talk Radio 1210. All right, Scott, should we give a standing O to?
Well, in honor of Megan Rapinoe and everything else that goes on with hating of America and every sporting event, we always give a standing ovation for the national anthem, our Star Spangled Banner.
All right, well, thank you, Scott. It's a little bit like the Joker in the deck, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, how could we possibly,
You got to hit that right perfect spot.
Yeah.
When it's too obvious, it's going to be too
that's
too
why
obvious,
So we're looking for a person, alive or dead, that you think deserves a standing ovation. Okay, and you would give them one if you had the opportunity. And if you were at the Phillies games this weekend, or particularly Friday night, did you give a full standing O? Did you get it with Trey Turner? I don't think it was the worst idea in the world. Just a little bit skeptical. And I actually heard down the hall, well, why don't we give a standing ovation to cheer Joel Embiid up
Yeah, I
on
think
WIP?
this idea was an absolutely incredible idea. Not for like the whole mental health aspect
Right.
of it, but the national narrative in Philadelphia coming off of Ben Simmons and Carson Wentz, they don't
Mhm.
tell the truth in the national media.
Right.
It was Philadelphia fans pushed him out of town, and then Chauncey Gardner-Johnson goes
Why
to
this
Detroit.
guy, though? Why do this guy?
I think it's just a great opportunity to see a guy that's really down on himself, and as a city, prove to the rest of the country that, hey, look, we're passionate fans. We'll
Mhm.
boo our players when they deserve it, but when we see them, they need a pick-me-up, we're going to get behind them too and do that as well, and it comes from passion, not from hate, as you guys like to say about Philadelphia.
Does Joel Embiid deserve
You
one?
see, he posted right after the standing ovation on Twitter, LOL in all caps.
I know. He doesn't. He's a troll. Yeah.
The thing with it, if Joel wants to show that he's doing the effort,
Right.
that's the thing. It's Trey Turner. I think what really triggered this in Jack's mind was after that loss, after screwing up, he
Mhm.
took accountability, stayed after the game, did an interview with media, sent all his press to the papers. It starts heating up. He's taking accountability, and meanwhile, Trey's going back, taking more batting practice till like midnight 30.
Holding up the bus to the other
Holding
players,
up the
which they
bus,
seem
yeah.
to be okay with, I guess.
But when you see something like that, and you can tell that unlike Ben Simmons, who refuses to take accountability, or Carson Wentz, who wants to blame everybody but himself, when you see something like that, yeah, let's get behind him. I thought it was a great move for the city.
All right, so it's 855-839-1210. If you were at the game, though, or one of the games this week, we'd love to hear from you. Did you get that kind of vibe? By all accounts, this guy's really trying. You could say, well, he deserves to be booed. He's getting $300 million. Stop babying him. Or you could say, well, you want to help the Phillies win. He put up billboards around town in addition to that. So I know it's a small amount of money for a guy with that, but he's doing the right things, without a doubt. I like Jack Fritz a lot, was his idea. Maybe Dan will come up with something like that.
Yeah, right. The guy's got a lot of pull, Mr. Fritz.
Let's give a standing ovation to Jim Kenney on his last day in office. He's going to need something. Oh, man. 855-839-1210.
I don't want to, fluff up you at all, but a lot with, what we're seeing around Krasner and all, I think comes from you. So,
Oh, well, thank you.
You're giving
Thank
Jack a lot of credit as someone that can be a change maker, but I think you've made some changes.
Yeah, no, I heard him pretty clearly, and I think he came up with something simple. Others trying to grab onto it, and I think in the end, it was fine.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Now you're going to hear people, well, why don't we do there's going to be a racial
Why
angle
not
to this.
Schwarber? Oh, wait. Well, yeah.
Yeah, Schwarber. I'm not giving a standing ovation to Schwarber. I don't care about what. Catch a ball in left field.
But I mean, you can't make it racial because the response would be look at Markelle Fultz because Markelle Fultz was struggling.
Yeah.
The city recognized that he had the yips. He had something mental going on. And a lot of times the guy would go up for a free throw and he'd get a standing ovation to try to show him support.
I know, but it became like
It
a
did,
little bit.
It did,
became
but
like
I
romper
would
room.
say the same thing would happen if Trey continued getting, negative.
Yeah. No, you're right about Markelle Fultz. That's a good example. Okay, so 855-839-1210. That's how you get in right now. Hit us on the side question. Remember, the magic word is discovery. We'll see around 5 o'clock, 7, 8 o'clock tonight what this judge does. This is a all-out Obama judge, big time. This is in the third indictment case. And, of course, Trump wants to see how they got to this point of this indictment. And, of course, he'd want to talk about it. It'll be talked about in court. Why can't he talk about it? It's ridiculous. Again, it's a First Amendment infringement, even worse than the theory of this case abridging his right to challenge the 2020 election. 855-839-1210.
Rich Zioli.
Jack Smith going to Subway today is a message to Donald Trump. Donald Trump tries to intimidate people. That was Jack Smith with no words and a simple $5 sub in his hand saying, I'm here, I'm not going anywhere.
So brave. He went to Subway, where all those MAGA people usually hang out to beat the crap out of people. Like Jack Smith is showing he's strong by going to lunch. And to double down, he went to dinner.
Rich Zioli, weekday afternoons 3 to 7. Talk Radio 1210, WPHT, and on the free Odyssey app.
Got chronic joint pain but want to avoid steroids and surgery? Take some advice from pro football legend Emmitt Smith. Call QC Kinetics.
Let QC Kinetics help you improve your quality of life with biologic therapies that get your body to repair and restore damaged tissue.
These exciting new regenerative treatments from local medical professionals can help your body heal itself with lasting pain relief.
Trust me, you want to avoid surgery if you can. Check out these biologic treatments to see what your options are.
QC Kinetics, restorative regenerative solutions with no downtime, no surgery, no drugs.
I'm talking about joint pain we all can relate to in your knees, your shoulders, your hips, and your lower back. They'll get you feeling good again.
Get relief now.
What are you waiting on? Make the call to QC Kinetics. Tell them Emmitt Smith sent you.
Call QC Kinetics, 215-999-3000. That's 215-999-3000. 215-999-3000.
It was the day we all feared. The stock market went down and then kept going.
2008, when the markets lost over 50% of their value. But that was over a decade ago. Today, it's not so painful. Jim Cipriotti at Retire Ready Financial Group calls that financial amnesia. When you forget the pain of losing half your savings, and more importantly, ignore the fact that it can happen again. A complimentary consultation from Retire Ready Financial Group can show you where you stand now before the next market pullback. You're much closer to retirement than you were in 2008. Don't let it happen again. Call Jim Cipriotti at 610-894-7415 for a complimentary consultation. That's 610-894-7415 or online at retirereadyfg.com. You can forget where you put your keys, your glasses, or even your car. Don't forget to protect your retirement.
Investment advisory services offered through Retire Ready Wealth Management, a registered investment advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through James V. Cipriotti, NPN number 2083768.
For the pulse of the city, even if it ain't pretty.
The Dom Giordano program.
On Talk Radio 1210, WPHT, and the free Odyssey app.
Hey, good Monday. Dom Giordano show. Morning Consult, big firm. It's pretty on top of stuff day to day. Says the most disliked candidate by far in the Republican primary field, which is what, like 10 people, maybe 12, is Governor Christie. By far. Second most disliked is Mike Pence. I don't think they know the Asa Hutchinson yet enough, and the Will Hurd, the former congressman, the Suarez guy. They're all pretty disliked, particularly Hurd and Hutchinson. But Mike Pence is the second most disliked in this field. Christie, by far, most. The negatives are incredible. And over the weekend, I think, here's Trump. This is cut 4, Dan. Here's President Trump talking about Christie, Tim Scott, and other contenders. Cut 4.
A guy like Christie is just wasting his time. Nobody likes him. Nobody respects him. He left the governorship of New Jersey with an 8% approval rating. That says it right there, 8%. But you have some very good ones. I get along very well with Tim Scott. We did opportunity zones together. I think that Ramaswamy is doing very well. He speaks very well of me. He says I'm a great president. So I said, oh, good. Is he running against me, actually? But he's very good. That's one of the reasons he's doing well, because he speaks well of me. And no, I think you have a few that are really good, and I think you have some that aren't good. I think this Asa Hutchinson, he's polling at 0. He's wasting his time. Why is he running? This is the point. Why would I do a debate with a guy like that that's running, that's at 0, and then he's going to just ask a nasty question? Why would you do that?
Just want an hour of that straight, though.
All right. I know Vivek Ramaswamy, I've come pretty close to it. And Trump just threw in something like, who the heck is he talking about after Christie? Christie, by far the most unlikable in this poll. You can understand why. It's just brutal what he's engaged in. Pence, second most. Save that for a drop. All right. It's Pastor Bill Devlin. Hey, Bill,
Pastor.
Welcome in. What's up?
Hey, God bless you, Dom and Dan. I'm just in from northern Nigeria, Gaza, and Amman, Jordan, and the West Bank. And standing ovation, I was just stimulated to call in and say, because today is National Purple Heart Day, going back to the time of President and General George Washington, I'm doing a standing ovation for all the women and men who have received the Purple Heart Medal, of which Travis Manion and myself are recipients. So
absolutely.
That's my standing ovation.
Good. Well, Bill, thank you. Thanks very much. Good to have you back.
Okay. God bless. I'm on my way to Cuba, Dom.
All right.
I'll be down there a week from today. I'll check in.
All right. Thank you, Bill. Thanks very much.
I appreciate the specificity, but is it one of those that's like a joker in the? I mean, you can't say no to Purple Heart recipients, right?
No, it's a good one, but you're right. By the way, the thing apropos of Oppenheimer, et cetera, I should get the exact number. The number of Pearl Hearts that we've gone through, that people have received because of their injuries. I forget. I think we have 150,000 left. Dan, they were struck, meaning they were made prior to an invasion of Japan. And I think they had 370,000 or 400,000. You know what that means? They knew they would be giving out their guesstimate, 400,000 Purple Hearts, if we invaded Japan. So thank God again, Harry Truman said, no. Can you imagine if Harry Truman, it was found out, he had the atom bomb. He didn't drop it. He didn't think that was fair. What about people in Japan? And he sent Americans 500,000 or more to their death. We're coming up. Well, we just passed the first atomic bomb yesterday, and Wednesday will be the next. And Japan still didn't surrender after the first blast. I just wish the film had gotten into that a little bit more. They made Truman look like a yahoo. He has Oppenheimer in there, and he says people are going to come after me historically, not you. And he calls them a something, derogatory as he's leaving the door. I wish they had gotten into a little bit more. What other decision could you possibly make there? Would a president today, would a Biden do that? I don't know. Probably not. It wouldn't be fair. We're going to send Americans to their deaths in order to please the world when we have the atomic bomb, particularly a country that wouldn't surrender after the first atom bomb. All right, coming up, Charlie Giroux, friend, political strategist. Charlie was on the alternative list of delegates for Pennsylvania. Now, you know, in Indictment 3, they're going to town with this stuff for all the swing states. And in fact, I agree, ultimately, this is where that case is going to be tried. Did Trump and Giuliani, et cetera, do the wrong thing with these electoral slates? How can Charlie talk about it? Because Pennsylvania put in a special guideline that he'll explain. But we actually have somebody that was on one of these alternate slates ready to be tagged in when we got down to the final on January 6th. He's next, and your calls here on Talk Radio 1210.
You've heard me talk about Chapman Windows, Doors, and Siding, how much I love my new patio doors. Hey, Dawn Stensland here. You should see the amazing options available to customize your home. If you want to really bring the outside in with a spectacular open view, ask about the new Nana Wall product. You should see this gorgeous wall of glass doors and windows, how it could transform your home. Chapman also offers premium architecture shutters designed to last a lifetime, historically accurate with hardware options, as well as a lifetime warranty. This is the special, unique Chapman difference I'm always talking about. The Chapman team, they offer meticulous work, outstanding service, high-quality products, and years of wisdom and product knowledge. They get it, and they respect your family budget too. They listen. Just call or text them 610-431-8898, 610-431-8898. Check them out online, ChapmanWindowsDoors.com, ChapmanWindowsDoors.com. Tell them Dawn sent you.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Donate today at carsforkids.org. Your car, running or not, can be picked up as soon as the next day. No title, no problem. Go to carsforkids.org today.
1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Now accepting donations of land, homes, buildings, or any kind of real estate.
Celebrate America and Israel in an evening filled with patriotism and Zionism, camaraderie, and delicious food. It's the great